welcome. You look awesome, buddy. Thank you so much for coming back to the show. This is not our normal studio where we would normally interview each other. This place, this is Studio 6A. It's smaller, but we once played here together too, and I'm sure, of course, you remember this. All right, I will refresh your memory. Let me tell you the story.
Give me a hint.
Yeah,
right.
so this is where Conan O'Brien used to do his show.
Ah.
So we were here one time. I was a guest on the show with Conan, and you came on with the Sessions band. It wasn't
Right.
So I was so excited to see you and everything, and I got a knock on my door, on my dressing room door, and it was you and Patty, and you go like, "Hey Jimmy," and pardon the impression, and I go,
It doesn't sound like me.
No. So you go, Jimmy, do you know how to play the spoons? And I go, what? Hi, first of all, hi. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll do it. You go, well, come on, play the spoons with the band for the song. I go, okay, I'll play the spoons. So I'm like, you're like, yeah, let's get the spoons. I go, yeah, I'll get the spoons. You go, spoons! And I go, yeah, spoons! And I go, and I'm really, I don't even know where am I gonna find spoons. I ran down to the commissary, true story, and I go, you guys gotta give me 2 spoons, because Bruce just asked me to play with him in the band, and I gotta do it. And I couldn't even believe that you asked me to do it. I was so excited, and I think we have a clip. Here I am playing the spoons with Bruce Springsteen. Take a look at this. I could see it all coming back to you.
Well, I like that you broke a sweat in about 5 seconds.
I was that excited.
That's how easy it was.
I'm the first person to break a sweat playing spoons.
That's right.
Why spoons? It just fit the sound?
That's the only band that you could play spoons in, I believe, and make it sound. Or you could also the washboard. We've had people come out of the audience for that band play where they come dressed in their own washboard. So.
I love bring your own.
Next time we'll get you the washboard.
I'll always have one in the dressing room, just in case you ask me. Congrats on Letter to You. The record is, well, has a beautiful inspiration to why you wrote this record. But talk to me about it. How do you get into this?
I always liked music that was where the singer sounded happy and sad simultaneously, you know. And I wrote about this a little bit in the memoir that I wrote, where I always loved the Drifters, Saturday night at the movies, up on the roof, under the boardwalk. For some reason, the singer always sounded hopeful, resigned, like he had his spirit, but sad at the same time, and you felt the whole world open up to you. So those are the kind of songs that I like, you know, and that I think hit the deepest, if you're lucky enough to be able to write one, or a small group of them, and Letter to You kind of strikes that balance, and it's a record I'm really proud of. I'm proud of the writing and the playing on it.
It's about people that you have lost as well, that you've played with, but also people that you haven't really played with yet.
Right.
But also, I think Letter to You, I mean, obviously people take their own meaning from a song, but right now in these times, it was speaking to me, whereas it could be speaking to you.
Yeah, a little, you know, well, its original inspiration was I had a close friend of mine, and who was in my very first band, and he passed away a couple of years ago in the summertime. I went down and saw him before he died, and I came back, and it was just, you know, it just sat with me, and a song called "Last Man Standing."
Yeah.
I ended up being the last living member of the first band that I was ever in, and there's something about, I was in a band that lasted for 3 years with teenagers. I mean, that's very, very unusual, you know?
Right, yeah.
From 1965 to 68, from when I was 15 to when I was 18, it was the same guys from high school in the same band. And it was my entire school of rock. Every basic lesson that I learned in that band. The beginnings of performing, how to put a show together, the beginnings of your writing. Everything began during those 3 years with that band. So that's something that, and it was a momentous time in American history, 1965 to 68. You know, it was just tumultuous, and so it was a very, very memorable part of my life. And so I started to write a little, some of the songs were set a little bit in that time period where I went back a little bit and thought about what it was like playing in the Elks Club, the Fireman's Fair, the Union Hall, the in front of the drive-in movies, you know, before the movie starts, the VFW Hall, and all of those sort of very definitive but small gigs that you play when you're just learning your chops and your way, you know. So the record sort of stretches from that time period all the way to now, where it's a modern record that I cut with the E Street Band, who I've been working with for 45 years or so, and it's about, part of it is it's about a life in music, you know, and it's about the music itself and the role it plays in people's lives, the role that it's played in my life, and it's a bit summational as a record like that, you know.
Do you remember when you were 15? Do you remember the first taste you got of like getting on a stage or performing in front of a crowd, or that vibe back?
It was at the Elks Club in Freehold, and I went in about a month ago just to see if the room was still there that I first played in, and they redesigned the inside of it so it wasn't recognizable at this point, but they had a nice little bar downstairs, and
did you hop on stage with the band, or were
it was 35 cents. You played on Sunday, 35 cents to get in. There was a room about this size, and there was a circle of, the bands would set up in a circle. And every band would play about 3 songs, then the next band would play 3 or 4 or 5 songs, and the next band would play for a little bit. And all the bands were playing for free, you know. Yeah. And, you know, maybe there was less than 100 kids there, you know. But it was an amazing place to kind of start out. And I remember, the only thing I remember most is I got up and I sang Twist and Shout. And I've been singing it ever since. But
that was was that your first song you learned?
That was the first rock song, you know.
Yeah.
The first song I ever learned was a song called Green Sleeves.
Green
you
Sleeves?
can hear the reaction from the audience.
You guys are here, Green Sleeves! Oh, yeah, oh my, he played green. Oh, wow.
Played Green Sleeves?
Oh my God.
Damn.
Wow.
You know?
We thought that was going to come with the encore. We're going to open with Green Sleeves?
It was a folk song, you know, and the first thing I had was a big book of American folk music. And so I learned that first because I only had 2 chords, and then eventually I made my way to the 3rd chord, which allowed you to play Twist and Shout. So.
Yeah. And then the documentary, by the way, I'm so happy that you did it. Did you think for a second that you weren't going to do a documentary, or did you know that you would film this?
Well, I regretted not filming the band when we were young because I was superstitious. And I believed that the magician should not look too closely at his magic trick, you know? Yeah. And so I didn't want to see the band. Everything was going so well. I said, it can only screw everything up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we didn't film a lot when we were younger. So as we've gotten a little bit older now, I try to film mostly everything we do. We get some sort of footage on. And the documentary for this record came up just like that. I just have my filmmaking partner, Tom Zimney, who's the director. I said, Tom, just come down and film what happens. You know, just come down and shoot what happens. And then we start there. We start with just the basic, we started with just the band learning the songs and then playing the songs and then listening to the songs.
Yeah.
and then we sort of add tone pieces, which are sort of me just meandering.
No, it's not me.
I meander through the film.
You
for
meandering
about 40
is
minutes.
No, it's beautiful. Trust me.
But that's how we put it together.
Do you think that you changed your delivery of your stories or the structure of your stories from doing all of your Broadway?
Well, you know, the thing about Broadway was it really got me deep into the storytelling. You know, it was really most of the night was really spoken word.
Yeah.
And you know, and then I'd play a song for a little bit and then speak again. So it got me, that particular show sort of got me thinking about the whole arc of my life from when I was a kid to now. And the series of projects started with me writing the memoir and the Broadway show, and then to some degree the music that's come after it also, you know, has been a part of just taking a look at where I've been, what I've done, where I'm at now, you know.
When you get all the guys together in the room,
Yeah.
you could kind of feel like it's an old gang.
Well, it is an old gang.
I don't mean
It's a
that.
very old gang.
No. I don't mean like an old.
You
I
know?
mean like an old buddies. Yeah, but
But it is, you know. I mean, I've been with Steve and Gary and all the guys, you know, since I was 18, 19, 20, 21 years old.
Are you the same, or I mean, as far as the band, like, do you have the same dynamics? Because now and then Max will go like, "Hey, do you want I think you should do this."
Yeah.
Were you always like that?
I would say you do have the same dynamics. I mean, you do sort of play the same roles. There's some interesting bits of Steven assisting me arrange something from 30 years ago, and then him doing the exact same thing, you know, 6 months ago, you know. Yeah. So your relationships, they're very unusual. Rock and roll music is the only job in the world where, imagine this, the people you went to high school with, the very same people, 50 years later, you're working with those same people. Right? Those exact same people.
Wow.
And you've been with them every day since. You know? So there is no other job in the world where that occurs. It only occurs in a rock and roll band. And it's only even expected to work out there. It's no surprise that most bands break up. I mean, how could you not really, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like a social experiment. You go,
yeah,
let's see who snaps
somebody
first.
should figure us out, because we've been pretty lucky with it. And hey, I've had a great guys, and we've kind of prioritized the life and spirit of the band above some of our own personal grudges and our own things that we got against this guy and he's got against you. You know, all those things are there, but we've managed to transcend them in a lovely way at this point in time.
I want to show everyone a clip from the documentary. Here is Bruce Springsteen in Letter to You. Take a look at this.
The E Street Band makes me dream, think, and write big. When I'm amongst my friends, I allow a certain part of my mind that seems to be reserved for only them to be set free. And I dwell in a house of 1,000 dreams.
More with Bruce Springsteen when we come back, everybody.
On and on and on. I said, and it's on and on.